So Carrie and I we like to go hiking, as many of you know, but our kids, especially our boys who are here tonight, the word hiking isn't always their favorite word. So we found new vocabulary. We say, let's go see a waterfall. Let's go. Their favorite is, let's go climb some rocks. We just have to walk to the rocks that you're going to climb. But our usually relatively shy and quiet Ezra, if we see a rock, Ezra is, first of all, incredibly fast, those of you who've taught him, some of whom are in the room, and who know him. And he also has the ability to climb to the top of things very well and very quickly. And our quiet youngest child will climb up to the top of a rock, stand at the top of a boulder, and you're probably not going to do it now, will you? What will you shout? Correct. He becomes the lion from The Lion King, Simba, shouting at the top of the jungle the words that we get entirely wrong and hopefully offend no one. But he stands at the top and he shouts these words, which, now is the pop quiz part, are the beginning to which song in The Lion King? The Circle of Life. And so, in case we forgot what a circle looks like, there'll be no hula hooping from this rabbi, but we pay a lot of attention to the lion shouting from the top of the rock, or in our case, our youngest cub shouting from the top of a rock. The words of the song are actually brilliant, and they talk all about the concept of a circle. It really shouldn't be a circle. We would say maybe the journey of life, we would say, or the line of life. The path of life would make more sense. But they use the concept of a circle, which is a really Jewish concept at this time of year. I'll tell you why in a moment. But here's the chorus to the song. The circle of life moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of life. It's not a line. It's not a destination A to B. It's a circle. No beginning, no end. That's what that little lion shouts at the top of the rock to tell us he's learned about life at that moment. There's a book called This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. It's by Rabbi Alan Liu. It is a classic for this time of year. It's all about preparing for the High Holy Days. And last year we did a book club at this time of year. We're not doing a formal book club, but if you want to pick up a book and follow along, every week leading to today begins Elul. We're 1 month, Jewish month from Rosh Hashanah. And so the book that I'm rereading this year is This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared by Alan Liu. He talks about the role that the circle plays as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. First, the circle of nature. For the ancient Israelites, this is a good Jewish pop quiz question. What month is Rosh Hashanah in the Jewish calendar? It's the beginning of the year, but it's the 7th month, because it was the 8th month in which the Israelites had their rainy season. All the other civilizations around the ancient Israelites had a river. The Israelites had no river. They relied entirely on the rain, and they didn't know if the rain was going to come until the 8th month. So the 7th month became the month of worry. Will I get what I need to survive this year again? It was the end of the circle. And so, as they were nervous, they said, we've got to come together and pray. As we come to the end of this circle and begin again, we've got to ask God once again to bring us what we need, sustenance, so that we can start over. That's where we are now. We look in these days and weeks ahead, the circle of nature, as our year for school children begins, as our summer ends and things enter into fall for us, and we see things start to die, we have to look and say, where were we a year ago as we approach Rosh Hashanah? And we follow the circle of nature. We come back to where we were a year ago and say, will I have the blessings this year that got me this far Will those come in the year ahead? The second circle, he quotes King Samuel. He talks about the circle of a journey. King Samuel was known to travel to do what he called a circuit. So every year, he would go around and check on the people, and he would start in the town of Ramah, where he lived, to go to the town of Bethel, to the town of Gilgal, to the town of Mitzpah, and then he would go back to Ramah again. But this is a wonderful quote that reminds us again of the power of a circle. If you're moving along the circumference of a circle, Rabbi Lu says, it might seem as if the starting point from which you leave takes you further away from where you began, but every step you take on a circle, it's actually leading you back to where you started. So every time you go on a circuit, King Samuel, the second he left Ramah, he was already on his way back to Ramah, because the journey of a circle is one that has no beginning or no ending, or as some people say, every ending is the beginning to something new. We look at the hardest parts of our year, the things that challenged us most, disappointed us, perhaps the things that broke, or the people who we lost, as we always do at the holidays. It is not an end. It is perhaps an end that leads to another beginning, or it is simply another step leading us back around our circle. Which leads us to the third circle. Can't write many Jewish books without a baseball analogy, and so Rabbi Lu talks about the baseball diamond. When you play baseball and someone rounds the bases, as we say, every player who makes it around to home plate, they can say that they went on exactly the same path that every other player went on to get to that place. And yet, the game is not the same. Every time someone crosses home plate, the game is changed. Lou points out that when he thought about his childhood home in White Plains, New York, every time he would return home, he noticed two things. One, home was different, and two, so was he. It was the same place, he was the same person. But every time he went around the bases, every time he got home, something was different in him, something was different in this place he had known his whole life. Rosh Hashanah, we hear the words of Avinu Malkeinu. It's the same every year. We're in the same space, we're probably sitting next to the same people, and yet, the question is, how has our community changed? How have we changed? And so it's our month to prepare for our home stretch, our month to be nervous and thoughtful, our month to remember the many times when we've been exactly at this place in life and the many ways that we've changed. So, should we stand on top of a rock and shout? Ezra, he would say yes. That's not what we do. But we have something as ancient, we would say, and it's the tradition in many congregations that during the month of Elul, you hear the sound of the shofar, a sound that in its very ancient way calls to us to remember all the other times in our life we've heard that sound. It reminds us that our year is circular, that we're coming back to a place where we have to remind ourselves how we've changed. And so, as we turn to our Torah service now, we'll begin by sharing, hopefully, the sound of the shofar. And then we'll read the words from our Torah as we continue through the book of Deuteronomy in the home stretch of that book as well, as we begin to close out our Torah this year and look towards our holidays, Simchat Torah, when we'll begin Torah again. So please rise as we'll hear the sound of the shofar and then turn to page 250 for our Torah service. For the record, I practiced 3 times and it worked all 3 times in my office. It was close enough. Page 250.